Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. Welcome, all you hateful people who celebrate the president. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada, and that's my good friend Sharron Angle. Sharron, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thank you so much, Rick, and we're celebrating today. I'm really happy to be here on the occasion of our anniversary, and I want you to talk a little bit to our listeners about that because you've been here, of course, for the whole time.
Yep.
And how we're going to celebrate this whole week. We decided it's not just an anniversary day, but an anniversary week.
Well, and Sharron, of course, when you talk about anniversary, we're not talking about a wedding anniversary or something like that. We're talking about this is the anniversary, the 11th anniversary of starting on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Sharron, I used to joke with my wife. I used to watch TV and radio and holler at the radio and yell at the TV and say, "Don't worry, honey, I'm just practicing for my radio show. I'm just practicing for my radio show." Little thought of actually starting one. But sometimes in life when you talk about something enough, you start to wonder, is this really possible? Is this something doable? So when I started Conservative Commandos, it was much different than what it is right now. There were four of us that started it. Dick LaRosa, Amy was one of them. Mark Kalinowski was another one. We're each going to take 15 minutes of time and vent. All right? Amy Reed, she was going to vent. I was going to vent. Dick LaRosa was going to vent. Mark Kalinowski. And that's what it started out to be. I honestly believe that what it is today is far better, far greater than anything that I could have ever imagined. And I don't think it's anything that I do on a day-to-day basis or any of my co-hosts do. But I really do believe that the hallmark of the Conservative Commandos radio show is and has been and always will be the great guests that we have on. And I feel very fortunate. I feel that I am the student of my co-hosts and of my guest, our guest, and that I've learned so much. I believe I've grown from doing this. I have met some wonderful people. And, Sharron, 12 years ago, or 11 years ago, when we started Conservative Commandos, as I said, it was only going to be my little 1 hour, 1 day a week hobby where I could go on and vent. And I thought at that time we had a lot of venting to do, considering that there was a Democrat in the White House. There were Democrats that were in control of the House of Representatives. There was Democrats in control of the Senate. We had a thin, very thin hold on the Supreme Court. And there was a lot of venting to do. I thought that we could use the Conservative Commandos as a way to bring people together, to give our audiences resources that they could use when they talk to their friends, when they talk to their relatives, and ask questions and bring on people that had the answers. Hey, I've said all along, I don't have the answers. I really don't. But Sharron, I know where to go to find those people who do have the answers, who do have the expertise, who do have the knowledge to combat the things that are happening or coming to us from the left. And also, how to get Republicans, more importantly, how to get conservatives into office. And Sharron, I owe a great deal to the people who not only started the show with me, 11 years ago, but people, the great cast of co-hosts that we have had here on Conservative Commandos over the last 11 years. I guess I'm the only original one, so you could say they all have come and gone. And, well, we have you, and we have George Landreth, and we have Nasser Sheikh that are with us now, but I feel so fortunate for the people like yourself and Nasser and George and Anna Little and Kevin Wade, and I could go on with the list of co-hosts that have had faith and trust in what we do here in Conservative Commandos to be a part of it. And I feel very fortunate for that. And also our guests. I feel very fortunate that the guests have trusted us, trusted us that we are not going to twist and take what they say, that we're going to report accurately on what they write, bring them here and give them a forum where they can talk about issues in their articles without being interrupted, without people talking over them, without people arguing with them. And that's not what we do here in Conservative Commandos. We don't argue. We don't bicker. We bring the facts, ma'am. We bring the facts. We don't distort the truth. We really try to bring that truth out. So, Sharron, because you're here on our 11th anniversary, please take my thanks for all of you who have been co-hosts here on Conservative Commandos. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome, and I want to say thank you, Rick, for being part of one of the greatest movements. I think history will show that the Tea Party movement was one of the greatest movements in American history that really revived American thought and conservative thought and revived the heartland, the moral majority, the silent majority, those of us that thought, we're not necessary anymore. This country works pretty good, but it was really not the truth. And I think that was the shocking awakening that we got with the election of Barack Obama and just the turnover during that time between George Bush and Barack Obama. The things that happened to our economy, the things that happened to our society, the things that have happened to our freedoms and the Constitution. And that became the heart cry of conservatives everywhere. Remember the Constitution. And we were digging out the old flags, don't tread on me. You know, things that we hadn't thought about since probably our junior high years, when we first got our first government class and really understood what a republic was all about. And probably things that we hadn't thought about since grade school, when we first learned about George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and the signing of the Constitution at Constitution Hall in Philadelphia. But I think one of the main thrusts of the whole thing was that election, where we saw in Philadelphia that they couldn't even, in 69, I believe it was 59 precincts reporting, not one Republican vote.
Not a one Republican vote for George Romney in 59 districts in Philadelphia, which encompasses like 19,000 votes. Not a single hanging chad, not a single mistake. Hey, Sharron, before we go to our first break, and on the other side we'll talk about our guest, there's somebody else I want to thank for the past 11 years, and that is my wife, my bride, Mary. I mean, you talk about somebody who has given up a lot for Conservative Commandos. It's been Mary. This is a full-time job for me, full-time plus. I wake up in the morning, I get on the computer, and I start preparing, starting to look for guests, starting to look for articles and issues, and bringing the guests on. Then doing the show each and every day for 2 hours, and then after the show, starting the editing process to get it on TV and on radio. And you help a lot with that, Sharron, getting it on TV. But what I'm getting at is the person that has sacrificed as much as I have for the last 11 years is my wife. The fact that this time that I've dedicated to do this project has been taken away from her. Mary is a very conservative person. You've never seen her on Conservative Commandos. You might have heard her a time or two. We used her voice to do commercials or whatever sometime, but I appreciate the freedom that she has given me to be able to do this. And I don't hear, oh, you got to do this again today, or why don't you take off, or why are you doing this? She has been so supportive to me and to what we're doing here on Conservative Commandos. And I think because she knows it's what I want to do, what I enjoy doing, what I feel self-worth in doing. But I also believe it's because of what she knows we are trying to do for our country, and that's to bring it back to the Judeo-Christian patriotic roots that our founding fathers created.
Well, I would like to say about Mary that she's a gracious hostess, because she's had many of your co-hosts in your home, and she's fed us and mothered us and taken care of us and whatever we needed while we were there.
Yeah.
She's a gracious hostess, but I think all of us came away with a true respect for her patriotism and for her religious conviction. And, you know, those are the two things that our founding fathers had.
Right.
That made this country great. That's what's made us a country unique in all other democracies around the world, is that our founding fathers embraced their religious conviction and built a government based on the principles and the values that are found in the Bible. And so, you know, there's a lot to be said about our unsung heroes, and truly, Mary Trader is one of those.
Right. Well, when you talk about unsung heroes and you talk about the light, I'm not as faith-filled as Mary is. But just as Peter, who is then known as Paul, was struck down by a bolt of light on his way to Damascus, Mary has also been my light to make me understand what it means to be a Christian and how important Christianity is. And one really neat story, Mary has always said that the one thing that she wanted out of Conservative Commandos is she wanted to go to a celebration. She wanted to go to an inauguration, a ball or something like that. And I was so happy and so pleased that when President Trump won the election, that Mary and I were able to go to an inaugural ball. And she loved it. She wants to go back to another. She really does. And I would love to give that to her. But you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, starting our 12th year of broadcasting. We've got a couple of great guests joining us on the other side. And on the other side, Sharron and I will tell you who they are and the topics for our conversations. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And we want to welcome you back, and thanks for staying with us as you have for the past 11 years, and hopefully you'll continue to do so as we enter our 12th year of broadcasting the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, and my co-host today is Sharron Angle. And Sharron, the hallmark of our show, and what we've been doing for most of the last 11 years, is bringing great guests on our air. Please tell us who we're going to be speaking with today.
Well, our first guest is Congressman Bob Barr, who served Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation. And we've asked him to come on and talk about his expertise, if you will, as the Clinton impeachment manager and a former CIA analyst. He's going to be talking to us about these calls for impeachment, who this whistleblower is, and really what's going on with Biden and the Ukraine. So that's our first guest. Our second guest is, our second guest is Daniel Ortner, who joined Pacific Legal Foundation in the fall of 2018, focusing on the First Amendment, property rights, economic liberty, and curtailing the overreach of the administrative state. He comes to Pacific Legal Foundation after 2 appellate clerkships in the courts. And he was born in Israel and moved to the United States at a very young age. He is also authoring articles that we follow about California. And this one that he's authored is Don't Expect Diversity of Thought at the University of California. It's quite frightening to see what's going on in our universities in the name of political correctness rather than in the name of education. And our final guest is Roger Aranof, who is the executive director and editor of the Citizens Commission on National Security. Roger Aranof founded the Citizen Commissions on Benghazi, and he has produced and directed 6 documentaries and produced a weekly series on PBS called Think Tank with Ben Wattenberg. He's also written an article we're going to discuss today, Adam Schiff Turns on Hillary and Biden. Speaking of that, we probably need some kind of a citizens commission to investigate the Russia connection, because it seems like there is some foul play here, and it's not on the part of the Trump administration. But, I have just a real irritation with a fellow here in my state. I ran against this fellow last cycle through, and the reason is because he's one of those, one congressman said to me when I ran for Congress a few years back, he says, I hope you're not one of those squishy rhinos. And this is what we've got here. My representative, Mark Amadei of Nevada, on Friday became the first Republican member of the House of Representatives to back the rapidly escalating impeachment inquiry. But he said he was reserving judgment on whether the President Trump should be impeached. Mr. Amadei discussed the impeachment inquiry process during a conference call on Friday with members of the news media from his home state, and in a follow-up statement issued by his office, he said it made sense for Congress to investigate a whistleblower's complaint made public on Thursday that Mr. Trump used a July 25th phone call with Ukraine's president to advance his personal interests, including asking him to look into unsubstantiated allegations of corruption against former Vice President Joe Biden and his younger son. Get this. But on Saturday, now this was Friday, it comes out and says, think we should impeach, think there's some validity to these claims, and the whistleblower should be allowed to speak. But on Saturday, Amadei said he wanted to clarify his support. And his support was for congressional oversight. So he's already getting some pushback on this, and well, he should. This is a conservative district that he represents. We are strongly in support of President Trump. In fact, we've canceled our caucuses this winter. We're not going to hold a caucus. He is our nominee, and we're going to go forward with that. No need to talk about anyone else challenging him. This is not something that is unprecedented. This happens quite often with second-term presidents, that the party that the president comes from, like it happened with Obama, they just don't consider primary a real course of action, and so they don't caucus, and that's what's going on here in this state. But this representative wanted to be the first, and it's just such a political move, it makes me sick. And there's lots of impacts here. One of them is that, like Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi is political, and they always like it when it's not just the Democrats. If they can get some bipartisan support for whatever they're doing, it always makes it look like they're a lot more conciliatory than they really are. It's not just us that think Trump should be impeached. Look at Mark Amadei, Republican. He's on our side as well. And, this just is so irritating to me that he thinks he can play this political fence line, if you will, because he sees Nevada is starting to become a blue state, and in order to keep the blue folk happy, He's just going to kind of come over to their side a little bit so that he can kind of ensure his seat once more in Congress, rather than doing the right thing. And knowing this man is not stupid, at least I didn't think he was. He's an attorney. So he should know on the face of us. I mean, all we have to do is look at this whistleblower and know that this is all hearsay. This is not a whistleblower. This is a guy who heard from a friend who heard from a friend. This is like the old game of gossip. We've been reporting on this here at Conservative Commandos for a week now about this so-called whistleblower. Why would you give anybody like that any credibility? The law won't give them credibility. I'd be laughed out of the courtroom. Mrs. Engel, your testimony is not valid. You have to be an eyewitness to something before we can include your testimony. And anything that a whistleblower has, would be eyewitness, not this hearsay. So an attorney of all people should know what's admissible in court, and yet he says we should investigate the whistleblower's complaint. Really? Sorry, I hardly ever get so animated about something, but this just really took the cake for me. Well, here we are, Nevada. We get to be first on the list so often for things that I'm embarrassed about, and I can now honestly say, Mark Anamadei, you embarrass me.
Wow, you sound like me, Sharron.
Went on a tirade there, sorry.
Yeah, I'm usually the one that does that, but it's all right. It's all right. It's great. You're right, Sharron. Anything that this whistleblower has is all hearsay. And this hearsay would not be admissible in court, as you have said. It's totally second or third hand information. And Sharron, I honestly do believe at this point, this has been a set-up. This has been a ploy by the left. Maybe this guy was a plant. Get him in the White House, get him close to the president, see what kind of dirt can be gotten from him, and then we're going to bring it up and make hay with it, and that's what the Democrats are doing. Hey, Sharron, got to go to a break, get our first guest on. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is Sharron Engel. And today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with former Congressman Barr about the impeachment, the whistleblower, the investigations, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, everything that's in the news. You get it right here on Conservative Commandos. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our guest right after this break.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host today is Sharron Engel, and I'm Rick Trader. And Sharron, our first guest of the day, is with us. The start of our 12th year of broadcasting. And Sharron, please make that introduction.
Well, it's always an honor and a privilege to introduce Representative Congressman Bob Barr, who has represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is the chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Ed. Congressman Barr, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you. I apologize for being so technologically lack of technological skill here to get this working today. I apologize for that.
Well, it's working now, and we're glad to see you and hear you as
Good.
well. It's a pleasure to have you on, especially at this time, because you were Clinton impeachment manager, and you are also a former CIA analyst, as well as a member of Congress and a U.S. attorney. And I want you to comment now on this whistleblower that has come out and that all the Democrats are now hanging their impeachment hats on.
Well, thank you. I don't call this person a real whistleblower. A real bona fide whistleblower is somebody who is patriotic and truly believes that they have seen or heard or discovered information that would not otherwise be available that will help the government in some way. This person, or actually persons who have submitted a complaint to the intelligence community inspector general as whistleblowers, are not. They are saboteurs. They very clearly have put together over a period of many months a plan to undermine President Trump. And you can tell this very easily from looking at the complaint that they filed as a, quote, whistleblower. It is hearsay upon hearsay. It is very clearly a plan hatched to hurt President Trump. It does not have the best interests of the government or the American people in mind. And to be honest with you, I don't understand why this thing ever was approved by the Inspector General for the intelligence community. For one thing, the Inspector General for the intelligence community, which is a very responsible position, sent this complaint forward as a bona fide whistleblower urgent complaint without ever having seen or heard the telephone conversation that is at the foundation of this whole episode. So how an inspector general can make a determination that a complaint is legitimate, that it is urgent, that it relates to foreign intelligence matters of a classified nature, without having listened to the conversation or even seen a transcript of the conversation, is beyond me. It's either highly irresponsible of the inspector general to have done that, or the inspector general is complicit in enabling these saboteurs to proceed with their plan.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, but it seems like he's not the only one. It seems like the deep state, and that's who this guy would be, as part of that deep state, is really in league with the Democrats, because Ms. Pelosi can't even go to the facts. She hasn't even read the report. She has not heard the transcript. She's just jumping to impeachment because why? Talk to us about that.
Because these people, Pelosi and Nadler and Adam Schiff and all of these Democrats in the House, they are motivated by absolute pure hatred for Donald Trump. Even before Mr. Trump was sworn into office in January of 2017, the Democrats had decided they would do everything possible to undermine him. First of all, they still harbored tremendous resentment because Hillary Clinton lost the election in 2016. They also still blamed Republicans for failure of Supreme Court nominee Merrick Garland to have gotten a hearing in 2016. So they started out in January 2017 with a tremendous chip on their shoulder, which has only grown over time. And the one thing that unites these Democrats, it's not substance, it's not immigration policy, it's nothing except out-and-out unbridled hatred for Donald Trump. And they have been pressing for impeachment for months now, as you know, and as we've discussed previously. And they've decided that this so-called phone call that is problematic is the hook that they're going to hang the hat on. The fact of the matter is, though, it's not there. There's no violation of any law in this call. And it does not even raise ethical problems regarding President Trump. It's made up, it's concocted, but this is the horse they've decided to ride, and they're going to ride with it.
Well, I guess what's really disconcerting to me, and I use that word disconcerting because I don't want to use a harsher term, but my congressman, who is a Republican, is the first Republican now to come out and support the impeachment inquiry. And you said Pelosi is trying to have it both ways, one foot in and the other out. And I believe that's where my congressman is trying to ride his horse as well. Talk to us a little bit about that, how you can have one foot in and one foot out. Well, how politically does that usually play, and how do you think that will play out for Republicans that choose to ride the fence?
It was apparent last week when Ms. Pelosi, as the Speaker, made a declaration that she was launching a formal inquiry of impeachment. The fact of the matter is, she has not launched a formal inquiry of impeachment. A formal inquiry of impeachment is a document that is a House resolution that is printed up, placed on the floor of the House, and voted on. And that then goes to the Judiciary Committee to begin the impeachment inquiry. It sets out the parameters for such an inquiry. The fact that Ms. Pelosi decided that she would simply call something an inquiry when there was no inquiry resolution introduced makes clear that they really cannot still, even now, make up their mind whether they want to formally proceed or just proceed politically. And the fact that they have not introduced an inquiry of impeachment to formally launch an impeachment process, to me, makes clear that they are not interested in substance. They're not interested in the law. They're not interested in the Constitution. This is purely political.
Well, I know Rick wants to jump into this conversation too, but as the former CIA person. You had a title there. Let me look and see. CIA analyst. I know that you know that the intelligence community has really probably already investigated the Ukrainian connection here with Biden and his son and Trump and all of those dealings. So I want you to go through that a little bit. How much is there at all to talk about as far as Trump's concerned, and what is there to talk about as far as Biden and his son are concerned?
There's a lot to talk about. First of all, if one looks at the transcript of the telephone conversation between President Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine back on July 25th, it's very clear from the very start of that conversation, after they got the pleasantries and the congratulatory notes out of the way, that President Trump wanted to impress on the Ukraine president how important it was for the Ukraine to get to the bottom of the corruption that was endemic in the Ukraine government and which was part of the interference in our election in 2016. The Ukraine was in cahoots with Russia in interfering in our electoral process in 2016. President Trump, properly as our president, told the Ukraine president, okay, now that you've got your parliamentary majority, now that you're firmly in control, we want you to get to the bottom of this corruption and what happened in 2016. And as part of that, we want also for you to to move forward with an investigation that was thwarted previously regarding the corruption that seems to have surrounded President Biden's son. So that's what President Trump was getting at. And, of course, the Democrats, instead of saying, well, thank you, Mr. Trump, for moving forward to get to the bottom of the foreign interference from the Ukraine in our 2016 election, they turn around and say that he has violated some law and that he ought to be impeached. So that's the thanks that he gets for looking out for the American people and trying to protect the integrity of our electoral system, at least insofar as the Ukraine is concerned.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is former Congressman Bob Barr. He represented the 7th Congressional District of Georgia. Congressman, great to have you on with us again. Congressman, there is a treaty, from what I understand, there's a treaty between the United States and the Ukraine that allows for cooperation in criminal proceedings. And it would seem to me to make sense that if President Trump knew of something possibly happening and didn't ask for the Ukrainians' help in looking into this matter, he would not be doing his duty. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. If the President of the United States has information that a foreign power interfered in our election and he does nothing about it, that would be highly irresponsible. The fact of the matter is that it is entirely appropriate for the U.S. President to ask his Attorney General, in this case William Barr, to contact the Ukraine and get to the bottom of this, to launch a formal investigation, because it is clear from what we know already that the Ukraine was involved in interfering in the elections here in this country in 2016.
Mm-hmm. And you know, Congressman, every time anyone mentions the Russians interfered with our elections in 2016, I feel it's incumbent upon me to point out who the President of the United States was at that time. And that was Barack Obama. So if anybody was asleep at the switch, if anybody should have alerted everyone of the Russian interference, again, in my opinion, it should have been Barack Obama. He's the guy that should be investigated. Am I taking this too far, Congressman?
No, you're putting the blame exactly where it lies. And of course, Barack Obama's vice president back in 2016 was Joe Biden. And very interestingly, in 2014, President Obama put Joe Biden as vice president to be the U.S. government's point person for working on matters with Ukraine, which was facing a very serious problem back then with Russian military involvement. Well, at almost the exact same time that President Obama put Joe Biden in charge of being our point person for matters dealing with Ukraine, guess what? His son Hunter Biden is hired pursuant to a lucrative contract with the Ukrainian government-controlled petroleum company. Gee, isn't that a coincidence? And Hunter Biden stayed with that contract up until early this year. So
well, I don't blame him.
All of that is raises more than mere suspicions that there was something going on, and the fact that the Democrats say, "Oh, don't worry about that. There's not even an appearance of impropriety with Biden's involvement with the Ukraine," but the fact that President Trump wants to get to the bottom of Ukrainian corruption, that we've got to investigate as an impeachable offense.
Well, you know, Congressman, you said that it was a lucrative contract and he stayed with it until earlier this year. I can't blame him. If somebody is giving me $175,000 a month to do what? I don't know who's worth $175,000 a month working for a Ukrainian gas company, but I don't blame him. I really don't blame him for keeping that job for as long as he could. Congressman Adam Schiff started out the hearings the other day in what a lot of people feel an unfair way. I say it's very amusing. I think it was bizarre. His interpretation of this phone call, what the phone call really meant. I wanted to get your reaction to Congressman Schiff's parody of the conversation between President Trump and the Ukrainian Prime Minister.
The fact that the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee played such a game, such a sophomoric attempt to launch a very, very important hearing tells us just how far down the scale of professionalism the Democrats, and particularly with the committee structure in the House, have slid. I mean, it would be bad enough if this were something that took place in another committee, but to have taken place as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, to engage in such a parody on such a serious matter it's utterly disgraceful.
Congressman, and up on our website we have a piece of video right now of Joe Biden bragging that he met with the Prime Minister of the Ukraine and threatened him that within 6 hours, if the prosecutor wasn't firing, he was on a plane out of there and he was taking the money with him. Congressman, isn't this exactly what they're accusing Donald Trump basically of doing?
It is. It's called abuse of office. If a high official in the U.S. government threatens a foreign leader or a foreign official, the way Joe Biden very clearly, because as you say, he proudly bragged about it, the way he did with the Ukrainian government in his capacity as vice president, it certainly would be an impeachable offense, I dare say. But what we have here with President Trump is an effort on behalf of the United States of America to get to the bottom of that corruption, and then some deep state operative or operatives, there's more than one involved here, decide that this is their avenue to go after the President of the United States.
Congressman, everyone that I have heard, just about to a person, says even if he's impeached, there will be no conviction of the Senate. But yet the Democrats continue to want to proceed in this. Congressman, I'm not sure that the American people, even if they don't like Donald Trump, have the stomach for an impeachment and conviction of the president because of the instability that it would bring to our government. Am I thinking too far outside that box?
No, and that's precisely the reason why our founding fathers, who were men of tremendous genius and knowledge, that's why they made the notion or the principle or the mechanism of impeachment something that should be taken very seriously and used very, very sparingly and very wisely, only in extreme circumstances. If we now start down the road that the Democrats are trying to pull us in the House, and that is to call for an impeachment every time a president does something they don't like or says something that they don't like or calls somebody up that they don't like, and then actually moves forward with a formal impeachment process, which they haven't so far, but they say they are, it creates, as you say, significant instability in the institution of the U.S. government, and that can present very serious problems in our dealings with foreign nations, because if a nation, a terrorist-sponsoring nation like Iran, thinks that, well, there's so much instability in Washington and President Trump is in such trouble, now's our time to take some real action against the U.S. and Israel. So this can be very, very dangerous, aside from the political ramifications here in our own country.
All right, Congressman Bob Barr, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they can follow your work and what you write.
Well, thank you. They can go to our website, which is bobbarr.org, www.bobbarr.org. They also can go to the publications that I write for, the Daily Caller or townhall.com, and perhaps most importantly, our law enforcement support group, which is the Law Enforcement Education Foundation, Law EEF, which is a C3 foundation that supports law enforcement.
Congressman Bob Barr, thank you for joining us. Take care and God bless.
It's always a pleasure to be with you both. Thank you.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be talking with Daniel Ortner from the Pacific Legal Foundation about don't expect diversity of thought at California universities. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And once again, as always, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. And for rebroadcasts of our TV show or of our radio show, please go to our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. Also, don't forget to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Well, you know, Sharron, we always love to talk about California topics and subjects because we are broadcast on 7 TV stations out there. And with that, we have a great guest with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Of course, it's a pleasure to introduce Daniel Ortner, who joined Pacific Legal Foundation in the fall of 2018, focusing on the First Amendment, property rights, economic liberty, and curtailing the overreach of administrative state. He comes to Pacific Legal Foundation after 2 appellate clerkships on the Utah Supreme Court and the Third Circuit Federal Court of Appeals. Daniel is grateful to have been mentored by incredible jurists with a passion for originalism and for bringing empirical tools such as corpus linguistics to bear on statutory interpretation. He's also published extensively on First Amendment topics, including freedom of speech, freedom of association, and free exercise of religion. Daniel was born in Israel and moved to the United States at a young age, and he's grateful for the incredible blessings of liberty that he has enjoyed in the United States, and particularly for the freedom to think, speak, worship, and associate that are guaranteed with the Constitution. Daniel Ortner, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show, and Shana Tova.
Thank you so much for having me. You as well.
Thank you. Well, we have you on. We're asking you to talk a little bit about an article, Don't Expect Diversity of Thought at the University of California. It's becoming, don't expect diversity of thought from anywhere. You get kind of pummeled if you do have a diverse thought, don't you?
That's true. I think what the University of California is doing right now, though, goes beyond what other universities are doing. What I write about in my article is that for the past several years, any applicant to be on the faculty at any school in the University of California system, wherever that is, whether it's up in Davis or down in Santa Cruz, has to write what they call a diversity statement about their contribution to diversity. And these statements are basically being used by the university as a backdoor way to get candidates to talk about race and gender, which are topics that California voters in passed Prop 209 and said no, the California schools cannot consider race and gender. They can't do things like affirmative action programs. And these statements are also being used to force ideological conformity on applicants. If they don't agree with the university's view about diversity and diversity issues, then they're very unlikely to ever to be hired by a school in the University of California system.
Now, wouldn't that really come against a lot of the things that we've done in the past 50 years? I know we've been working on it almost night and day, it seemed like, to get equal opportunity under the law for everyone, regardless of race, religion, or gender. So doesn't this make it a step back?
Absolutely, and I think especially if you consider diversity even more broadly than just race and gender, you think about ideological diversity. You want people with different ideas at a university. You want different faculty with different viewpoints. So students get exposed to different ideas. They get to think differently than they have before. That's the genius of the university, is that you are exposed to different ideas and you get to really learn and grow and develop. Today, I think the universities are often seen instead as places where you go in to be indoctrinated in the same ideas that you've learned growing up and never to be challenged. And that's really unfortunate. It really goes, I think, contrary to what the university is supposed to be and what the First Amendment ultimately represents.
Well, I know that our founders were educated classically, and many of them at home, and they were taught to critically think at young ages. I remember that I believe that Benjamin Franklin was 8 years old when he became the ambassador, something like that. I mean, it was a ridiculously young age considering where our children are now with their education. And so you're saying to us now that not only has equal opportunity gone backwards, but so has education gone completely backwards in the area of critical thinking.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening with these statements in particular is that if you express views critical of diversity programs, let's say you express the view that Chief Justice Roberts expressed, which is the best way to stop discriminating on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race, meaning programs should be race neutral, you shouldn't be considering race or gender. If you would say that on your diversity statement, the rubric that's being used by some of the schools, UC Davis and UC Berkeley and UC Santa Cruz in particular, actually says if you say that, you get a low score on your diversity statement because you're not displaying adequate awareness of diversity issues. So if you express that viewpoint, you're not going to get hired. It goes further, though. They also look at the research of an applicant for a position, and they ask, does this research contribute to diversity? And they even use buzzwords like, does it reduce economic inequality for minority groups? Does it increase underrepresented minority admissions at universities? So if your research, let's say you're an economics professor, and you are a classic liberal, classic conservative economist who believes in free markets, then you would be unlikely to be hired because your research is not contributing to reducing economic inequality. Or if you're a law professor who thinks that affirmative action is wrong and unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment, then you're not going to get hired because your research is not helping minorities access universities. And if you, on the other hand, if you're arguing for more robust affirmative action programs, then that's going to be a point in your favor and you're more likely to be hired. So it's the university is putting the thumb on the scale in favor of certain ideas and against other ideas. And that is contrary to the First Amendment.
Well, so you mentioned the social sciences and the liberal arts, and we kind of get that, that they play in the political game a lot. Many attorneys become politicians, and political science is a social science. We understand that. But you also say that it's not just those social sciences and the liberal arts. The diversity statement has seized the STEM fields. Talk about the STEM fields and how this is impacting them.
Yeah, it's actually in some of the UC schools, like UC Berkeley, that's where it started, is actually in the STEM fields. The biology department is one of the key culprits there of pushing these diversity statements. I think it's really a problem where it used to be you were evaluated on the merits. How good is your scholarship? What ideas do you bring to your department? Now instead it's, do your ideas that have nothing to do with your scholarship or your academic endeavors, do your ideas about matters of diversity fall in line? And if not, you're not going to be hired. At UC Davis, this past year, or past 2 years, they've been doing a pilot program where they have these positions that are kind of open, cross-department positions where you don't have to apply for a specific subfield. You just apply for the position, and the key qualification is how good is your diversity statement, how high of a quality is your contribution to diversity, and academics come second for these positions. And so this is a new pilot program that they've said, well, we had great results. We hired lots of minorities. We're very happy with it. We're going to begin rolling this out and spreading it to other campuses and even further at Davis. So it's really a dangerous development where they're not even pretending anymore that what matters most is your academic merits. The first and foremost thing that anyone looks at is, are you pledging allegiance to the ideas of diversity? It's going to be starting soon, at Davis at least, the first thing any search committee sees, and it's going to be a gateway to getting considered further. So if you don't get a good enough score on your diversity statement, if you're not don't say the right things on this topic, you're not going to get considered on the merits. So it's really dangerous. You're saying we don't care about your ideas, we don't care about your research, we don't care about what you're going to bring academically if you're not towing the line on the views of diversity that we want you to adhere to.
Well, Stanford University has been just a godsend to my family. We live in Nevada, and it's one of the places where we can go, which is fairly close, 5 hours away, and get good medical treatment that is pretty much cutting edge. And I have a grandson that has needed this medical treatment. And now I'm taken aback because I'm thinking maybe their political alignment is going to be more important than their treatment of my grandson. I guess it's just frightening to think that political ideology has taken over in areas where really it has no business. We should be just concentrating on the facts. But we have to go to a quick break. I know Rick wants to take up this conversation on the other side. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. Places like San Francisco, where Stanford is very close, and Sacramento, where Davis is very close. We've been talking with our guest, Daniel Ortner, who wrote a great article, Don't Expect Diversity of Thought at University of California. I'm Sharron Engel, and I'm here with my co-host, Rick Trader. We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host is Sharron Engel, and I'm Rick Trader, and want to give a shout-out to folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., as well as seen on the AUN television network. Our guest this segment is Daniel Ortner. He's with the Pacific Legal Foundation. He's written a very interesting article, Don't Expect Diversity of Thought at University of California. Daniel, thank you for holding through that break. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
Daniel, maybe I could retitle your article's title here. Maybe Don't Expect a Good Education at the University of California. You know, Daniel, when I see and read and hear these things about diversity and this and that, inclusion and whatever, I think for every minute that's spent taught these things, and I won't say wasted, I guess there's a place for it, but for every minute that's spent teaching these things, and not just in colleges, but in high schools and grade schools, that's another minute where the students are not learning math, science, biology. These college students are not learning economics, mathematics, or medicine. I mean, Daniel, it seems to me that the idea of getting a degree is so watered down. Maybe the idea of getting a degree is something a lot of parents should question for their kids. I mean, do these parents who send their students to these universities know how their money is being wasted, not just in their tuition, but in their taxes? Because as you point out in your article, that all these universities, all these state universities are basically state agencies, but they're sending their kids to college to learn something. to become productive members of society, maybe be the next Jonas Salk or Albert Einstein.
Right.
And what are they learning? They're learning diversity. They're learning about acceptance. And as I say, I'm not going to say that's bad, but my gosh, I think you'd learn that through common sense of living life. I believe in diversity. I believe in treating people equally.
Right.
Okay? I believe in do unto others as you do unto you. I don't have a college degree. I learned that in life.
I think it's really a question of what do you want the university to be? Do you want it to be a place where people go to be indoctrinated in a certain viewpoint, or do you want really a robust intellectual debate of ideas and exchange of ideas on the university? It used to be that both students and faculty fought very hard to preserve the right of free thought and free expression on the universities. In the 1950s, universities in California had a loyalty oath where you had to pledge that you were not a communist, you were not didn't hold left-wing ideas, and that was widely decried by everyone as unconstitutional and unwise. Today, I think that these diversity statements form a new form of the loyalty oath, where if you don't pledge allegiance to certain ideas, you're not going to get hired, you're not going to get your ideas taught at the university. And so it's really frightening, and it's being led in some part by the same students and faculty that once stood up in favor of free speech. It's also, you have in a university like the University of California, Davis, you have dozens of bureaucrats, administrative employees who all they do is focus on diversity issues. They're not teaching, they're not contributing research. This is what they do, is come up with ways to increase diversity. And when they say diversity, they don't mean political diversity or religious diversity or socioeconomic or geographic diversity. They just mean race and gender in particular. They're doing, they're spending taxpayer dollars to just think about how they can promote this idea. And I agree, it's contrary to the idea that of equality under the law, that everyone ultimately should be treated equally, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, regardless of where you come from. We evaluate you based on the quality of your ideas, not based on your immutable characteristics.
I think, as I said, I think I learned that. It didn't take a college degree for me to learn that. Just a couple of good parents and some good thought. You mentioned to Sharron that academics are coming second. So what's coming first? This idea of liberalism, of acceptance or whatever. But Daniel, it doesn't seem to be so much, when you talk about diversity of thought, that if your thought is a conservative thought, they don't want to hear that, nor do they want you to talk about your conservative thought. I see that as also another issue that's going on in a lot of colleges and universities, especially those in California. Am I going crazy here, Daniel, or do you see this too?
I think that's unfortunately what's the University of California is moving towards, which is it's going to be, first and foremost, there's going to be a litmus test. Do you agree with us that these minority outreach programs are good? And if you don't, if you believe in colorblind education, you are not going to be hired. It's going to be a immediate bar. We're not even going to look at your academic achievements. You could be the smartest person. You could be the next Albert Einstein or Jonas Salk, but we're not going to consider you because you don't follow our viewpoint about diversity. That's where California is moving, and I think that's going to be where other schools, unfortunately, follow their lead. The University of Michigan has already, in some places, begun using some forms of diversity statements that requiring these. Other schools have as well. So California is, I think, the canary in the coal mine for this. They're far more advanced in their efforts. But I think if this isn't stopped, if people don't stand up and say this violates the First Amendment, this violates the ideas of the university, that it's going to spread everywhere or elsewhere for sure.
Well, Daniel, I was just going to ask you that. I was going to ask you an impossible or near impossible question to answer. How the hell do you stop it? How do you stop these universities from going down these tracks, calling themselves universities, but nothing really good comes out of it, at least nothing that people in society are going to benefit from down the line? They're not going to benefit from medicine or economics or anything else. They'll know diversity. They won't know much else. How do you stop it, Daniel?
At least for these diversity statements, I think that they are violating the First Amendment. They're also violating the California Constitution.
Good.
And so
we need to take them to court. Somebody needs to take them to court to stop them.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. We need courageous members of the faculty or applicants for jobs that are turned away who are willing to stand up and say this is not right. It's hard to find, you can imagine, hard to find people who are willing to risk their careers to stand up and do something about it. That's one of the reasons where Pacific Legal Foundation, we represent people pro bono. We fight for individual liberty, and I'd be really eager to find someone who's willing to stand up and say enough's enough. I want to challenge this. That's what we're doing. Fight. Yeah, we want to fight this.
There you go, America. There you go. And you people in California, you want to stop this. You want to see this stop. Get a hold of Daniel Ortner at the Pacific Legal Foundation. And Daniel, tell our audience how they could do that.
Sure. Our website is pacificlegal.org. We have there information about all the cases that we're fighting all over the country. We're litigating for individual liberty and fighting the government and winning. People can come there and find out all about us and all that we do, and reach out to us, and we'll be happy to hear more about more if you're interested in getting involved in this fight.
Daniel Ortner, Pacific Legal Foundation, we want to thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate what you guys at the Pacific Legal Foundation do. Keep up the good work, will you please?
Yeah, will do. Absolutely.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle, the reasonable one. And I'm Rick Trader, and therefore maybe I'm not, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. On the other side, we're going to have a longtime friend joining us, Roger Aranof. He's the Executive Director of the Citizens Commission on National Security. He's written a very interesting article, Adam Schiff Turns on Hillary and Biden. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest right after this.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Today starting our 12th year of broadcast excellence. And we feel that our show is what it is. And we've been able to stay on the air for 12 years because of the great guests who are gracious enough to come on our show. If you'd like to make a recommendation for a guest, or maybe yourself would like to be a guest, it's easy. Just send an email to me. It's rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. I know it's long, but it's easy. Look, it's just rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. And Sharron Engel, speaking of great guests, a longtime friend of the show, is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
It's my pleasure and the honor to introduce Roger Aranof, who is the Executive Director and Editor of Citizens Commission on National Security. Roger Aranof founded the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. He has produced and directed 6 documentaries and produced a weekly series on PBS called Think Tank with Ben Wattenberg. Roger, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, Sharon. Great to be with you, and congratulations to you all for 12 years. That's an incredible accomplishment.
And they said it would never last, but here we are. Here we are. Well, if you saw our first couple of shows, you might have been in that list of people that says this is not going to last. But it's gotten better. We've gotten better.
It takes a few steps to get situated correctly.
Yeah, it does.
About it.
Well, one of the secrets to our success is people like Adam Schiff. He just continues to be a gift that keeps on giving. We thought when Trump was elected that there would be no more use for someone to talk about conservative thought because everyone would finally come back to their senses and understand that conservatism is actually Americanism and that what we have on the left is socialism. And so we thought that would probably be the end of Conservative Commandos, but not so. And you've written a great article about one of these folks that just keeps proving why we have to talk so much about Americanism on this show. And that's your article, Adam Schiff Turns on Hillary and Biden. This is an interesting thought to me. Why they so rarely break ranks over there on the left. And here we have Adam Schiff. And you say now he's turning on Hillary and Biden. How so?
Well, I'm using a bit of the word he used, parody. He really didn't intend to turn on them, but by saying a couple things he said, in particular in this last exchange at the end, he was going back and forth with McGuire, the acting head of the DNI, and he said, if I may read it, just I don't have it memorized what he said. He said, I believe Mueller described such efforts to seek foreign assistance in a U.S. presidential election as unethical, unpatriotic, and very possibly criminal. Would you agree with Director Mueller that to seek foreign assistance that way would be unethical, unpatriotic, and very possibly a violation of law? Well, who did that? Hillary Clinton. I mean, the DNC, as I point out, they paid $12 million between Hillary's campaign and the DNC to Perkins Coie, the law firm, which hired Fusion GPS, which hired Christopher Steele, the British spy, to go get manufactured dirt from the Russians to try to use it against Trump. So that was one of the examples. And it was like, as he was saying that, I'm saying, don't you realize who you were talking about? But he obviously didn't. The other one, there were several, but I said it was a military man. And again, this is to McGuire, who had been a Navy admiral. He said, if this military aid was withheld from an ally that is fighting off Putin's Russia, and it was done so to be used as leverage to get dirt in a U.S. political campaign, don't you think that should be investigated? And the irony I pointed out there is that, of course, the Obama administration refused key lethal aid to Ukraine that they had been seeking so they could fight Russia. And Trump comes in, he provides them all this aid. And he didn't threaten, the aid was being held, but Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, wasn't even aware for a month later that this aid was being withheld. So it obviously wasn't being used as leverage in this conversation. There are so many misrepresentations about the conversation, but so that's what I meant. I was a catchy headline to try to play off the parody that he did with his opening comments, where he made up all these things that were supposedly in this transcript that weren't there at all.
Well, I think it is a kind of an irony. They're being so hard-pressed to go after President Trump, but they have, in the process, exposed a lot of their own underdealings, especially this one with Biden. This is something that it appears to be criminal abuse of office. What do you think? Where he goes to the Ukraine and tells them he's not going to give them billions of dollars? That sounds like extortion.
That's exactly the thing that they're criticizing Trump for doing, and Trump didn't do it. Biden did it, and he bragged about it on camera when he was at this Council on Foreign Relations event. And it was, he said, if you don't fire this prosecutor, we're not going to give you this $1 billion in loan guarantees. And so he says, you can call Obama to check with him. He's with me on this. And he says, I'm leaving in 6 hours. And then he boasted that they buckled to him. So they buckled to his pressure to do that. So, of course, the media jumps in and says, oh, there's no evidence to support this idea that he did anything wrong. And so what? The son got a seat on the board. Or where's the evidence of anything? Well, it's just not credible to believe that there's no connection between Biden going to Ukraine and being the point man on Ukraine and his son getting this position. It just, as they say, the appearance of conflict of interest. But it's clearly a conflict of interest that was going on there. So once again, the Democrats, the left, get the kid glove treatment from the media. They say no evidence, and so it's one more time that we see that same thing. Is it criminal? I don't know about that. If there's a crime there, but look, we do know that the Democrats they sent the FBI to Ukraine to try to get material to put pressure on Paul Manafort to get him to turn on Trump. And so this idea of, and again, the whole thing with Hillary going to the Russians to get dirt on Trump, and then they just turn it around and accuse Trump when Mueller, after 2 years of investigation, found no evidence to support any kind of conspiracy or coordination between Trump and the Russians. But so that's another point I made in this, which is, why did Pelosi come out when she knew the next day the transcript and the so-called whistleblowers report were going to come out? Why couldn't she wait a day to see that? Well, one answer is we see the date of the whistleblower the so-called whistleblower report was August 12th, so they probably were sitting on it for over a month. But, the other part of it is that, what if this blows apart our impeachment theory? So we better just go ahead and announce it today. We know the media will cover for us, and they'll go along with this. They want him impeached just as bad as we do. And we're still bitter about Hillary losing the election, and we got to make sure Trump somehow doesn't get reelected next time. So we're all in on this. And the impeachment, it just means, can you get 218 votes to say he's impeached? That doesn't have to be a crime. It's political.
It is political, and you're a very kind man, Roger Aranof, for saying that it's not criminal. You're not going to go that far, and that you say they misrepresent the facts. I think it's a crime, and I think they lie. And I think that Adam Schiff is chief among the liars there. It seems like they can't get their story straight no matter how hard they try. Because that story, that truth, is a moving target. They just don't seem to be able to capture it. Biden admits that, what we would call extortion, if the mob was coming to your shop and said to you, you either get rid of that employee or we're not going to give you the money that we promised you. We're not going to have any dealings with you as we promised. You do it our way or else. And it's kind of a strong-arm tactic, I thought. And Biden thought so too. I mean, he was bragging about his courage, his bravery, his whatever it takes to be the tough guy here. And then he denies it. Then he says, oh, well, that's not what that meant. Isn't that a lie?
Well, it's a lie, sure. All I was saying is I don't know that it's a crime in essence, but it's certainly wrong. It's hypocritical. It's exactly what they're trying to accuse Trump of doing. We have on tape Biden doing that exact thing. And clearly he was going around taking his son around, and we won't even get into the son's background. I mean, kicked out of the Navy, failing a drug test, or a whole lot of things about him that, there's no chance he would have gotten these contracts with the Chinese and with the Ukrainian natural gas firm if he wasn't Joe Biden's son and traveling with him. So that, I think we can rest assured, whether they say there's no evidence that that's the case or not, it just, on the face of it, it's quite obvious.
Well, like I said, Roger Aranof, you're a nice man. And with that, we have to take a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California in places like San Francisco, Pelosi Country, and Sacramento, San Rafael, Silicon Valley. We'll be right back with our guest, Roger Aranof, who is the executive director and editor at Citizens Commission on National Security, and has written an article, Adam Schiff Turns on Hillary and Biden. We'll be right back. I'm Sharron Engel, and my co-host is Rick Trader.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us as you have for the past 11 years. Hopefully you'll stay with us as we start our 12th year of broadcasting the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is Sharron Engel, and our guest is Roger Aranof. He's the executive director and editor of the Citizens Commission on National Security. Roger also founded the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. Roger, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, you know, Roger, I found the hole in everything that you and Sharron are talking about it being extortion, it being this, it being that. It seems to me that lying is legal when you're in politics. And here's old Joe Biden out there lying to the, or threatening. You know, I could say threatening is probably also legal in politics, unless you're threatening to kill someone. Maybe, just maybe. But here you got Biden threatening the prime minister of Ukraine that if he doesn't fire this guy in 6 hours, he's going to be on a plane and he's taking his billions back with him. And you can talk to Biden, and Biden's with me. I would say, yeah, that's because it's political speech. It's lying. But the fact that his son, Hunter, as you said, hey, listen, I'm not going to feel sorry for Hunter if we call him a former drug addict, if we say that he was kicked out of the Navy. After all, when you're making $175,000 a month because of what your daddy did for you, I find it very hard to feel sorry for him once I call him a drug addict or being dishonorably discharged from the Navy. I doubt that he's going to feel bad about what I say about him. But Roger, I see that in and of itself as the huge wrongdoing that Biden or maybe even Obama did to help Hunter get such a lucrative job. Maybe that's where the investigation needs to be, Roger. I mean, I don't know if we can prosecute Biden at this point. He's certainly not a public official at this point. He's a candidate. I think that I believe this is going to have an effect on his campaign. But I believe the investigation, and Roger, you created the Citizens Commission on Benghazi to investigate what happened in Benghazi. I say that's the crux, Roger. Let's find out how Joe Biden helped his son get that job of $175,000 a month.
Well, the question is, what did they expect in return? And look, it certainly wasn't for his expertise. And, you know, what I'm reading is that they were getting billions back that Biden, as the point person, was finding for them for various forms of aid. But yeah, this is those of us who follow these things knew about this ever since Peter Schweizer's book came out a while back, Secret Empire, but it got no traction until now. So some people think this, there might be some Democrat fingerprints on this as well, because people who wanted to get Biden out of the picture. Now, that leaves what? Elizabeth Warren. That seems to be the flavor of the week that people think is going to be the nominee. I have a hard time believing that they would allow that to happen, or Bernie. So waiting in the wings, who is there? I keep saying Hillary still hasn't made it clear that she's not running.
Well, Roger, you come close to what Sharron and I have heard from our friend Dr. Gerard Lamaro. And Dr. Lamaro kind of floated the idea of Michelle.
Well, I hear that one too. And then I see Hillary's out on 60 Minutes last night with a new book, Simon & Schuster, as they carefully point out, which is owned by CBS. And it was one of the most softball interviews. And they just, again, it's almost a parody how she sits there and talks about, the things that Trump did when she spent 4 years putting classified material on an unsecured server, used the Office of Secretary of State for pay for play for over and over and over again. I mean, it just, the whole thing about what she did on so many areas, and she's held up as this paragon of virtue. And they don't even raise questions with her. This is the corruption of the media that has been there for a very long time.
Roger, you and Sharon were also talking about Pelosi, and you brought up why couldn't Pelosi wait another day, another 24 hours? Well, Roger, once again, I think this is another example of a politician lying. And by the way, it's very easy to tell when a Democrat lies. It's every time they open their mouth. But I think she knew exactly what was in that transcript. And she said she didn't read it, but I think she did. And I think it was calculated, very calculated for her to start screaming, impeachment, impeachment. And that is the old getting your hand caught in a cookie jar. Look over there, look over there. Well, I think what she was trying to do is she was calculating, thinking that if I come out and demand impeachment now, it's going to overshadow what is in that transcript.
Right. She was taking the posture before then that, no, it's too early. But now, after we've seen this transcript of this call and the things we've heard about at this call, this is over the line, And so, again, I'm saying she had to get to the microphone before the evidence came out and proved that there was no influence. I mean, he wasn't trying to get manufactured dirt on Biden for the 2020 race, like they say. You can't read it and think that. You just have to make it up like Schiff did in his parody to come to that conclusion. So, look, but on the other hand, Trump, he can't help himself. So he gets out there and he talks about William Barr and all that, puts pressure on Barr. They don't like that because, they want to stay neutral. Look at this with the Durham investigation coming out, and they're looking into what role did Ukraine have in this counterintelligence investigation into Trump and all this. So Trump needs to just kind of cool it in a way. I mean, he likes to tweet and get it out there and everything.
But as you say, Roger, he can't help himself, and that's what makes Trump, and people love it. People love him. Hey, Roger.
The point is, where is this all leading? And the fact is, none of us really know for sure. I mean, he may get, I think a common belief is that he's going to get impeached but not removed. Well, once it goes.
Well, I actually think that'll help him.
What?
I actually believe that he is impeached, that's really going to help him in 2020.
I think that may well be the case.
I mean, look what it did for Clinton.
Guarantee that's the case.
Well, look what it did for Clinton. I really do believe, and we spoke about this with Congressman Bob Barr earlier today in the show, that the American people want their government to be stable.
Yeah.
And when you're impeaching a president and trying to remove him, that is really going to shake up the country. That's really going to shake up our economy. And I think people right now are a little fat and happy with the economy. They like the way things are going. They may not like Trump personally, but they like what he's doing. And,
right.
I'm one of those who believe that you don't need to like somebody to like their policies. Hey, Roger, we got to run.
Okay.
It's a little long. We're coming against a hard break, but Roger Aranof, Executive Director and Editor of the Citizens Commission on National Security. Hey, Roger, I'm also hearing this other rumor about you out there, that you now have a radio show and you're in competition with conservative commandos.
Well, I don't know about the competition. I think we're fighting for much of the same cause. So, and I owe you some thanks for helping setting me up with this. And so I have the Aranof report, and people can find it. We've had some great guests, just like you do. And if you go to ccnationalsecurity.org, that's CC for Citizens Commission, ccnationalsecurity.org, you can find all the Aranof reports. And I'm enjoying it, and it's great. And I appreciate you having me on your show again, as we've been doing for many years.
We do go back, Roger.
Yep.
I won't say we go back to a time when you had dark hair and I had hair. I won't say we went back that far.
That far.
But we always appreciate having you on as a guest.
Well, thank you. You and Sharron are great, and I appreciate being on, and appreciate what you guys do. Thank you.
Take care and God bless. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. She is Sharron Engel. I'm Rick Trader, maybe contrary to what I may have said in the past, but that's how it works. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Well, Sharron, that wraps it up. Edition 12.1. Starting our 12th year of broadcasting here on Conservative Commandos. I've had a lot of great co-hosts. And Sharron, I always appreciate you and what you do for the show. But please tell our audience how they can follow you when you're not here with me on Conservative Commandos.
Well, certainly. They can follow me easily at my website, SharronEngel.com, SharronEngel.com. And as you've said over and over, the best part of our show is our guests. And I want to thank them so much for being a part of our show today. We had Representative Bob Barr, Congressman Bob Barr, talk to us about what else? Impeachment. Mm-hmm. And clearly, from his perspective, as the Clinton impeachment manager and former CIA analyst, he has an expert opinion, which we really appreciated. And we want to thank Daniel Ortner from Pacific Legal. He talked to us about the credibility or not lack thereof of the University of California, and how they have put now this diversity of education above all else. And finally, our good friend, Roger Aranof, who's the executive director and editor at Citizens Commission on National Security, talking about Adam Schiff and a little parody of his own about turning against Hillary and Biden. So we've had a great show today, Rick.
Yeah, and as you said, Daniel Ortner, try to talk, and sorry if I talked a little too much, but that's what we do here. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Tomorrow we'll bring you 12.20 here of Conservative Commandos. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.